What up, people? Man, here we are with UFC 119. This is, can't say it's the most anticipated card I've been, looking out for, nor the card after this. But I must say, just getting past my disappointment of the kind of the level of significance. This should be a really good fight. It should be a real good, fun night of fights. There should be some very good stuff going on. Looks like every card on the main card should be, pretty action packed. Every fight on the main card should be pretty action packed. Maybe a couple duds here and there, but altogether it's a pretty solid fight. But it's like something you'd probably see on a really awesome fight night, you know? Then again, maybe not even that. But um, I digress. We're talking about Frank Mir versus Mirko Cro Cop. Now, Mirko Cro Cop's coming off a impressive victory over Pat Barry, and Frank Mir's coming off an impressive loss, or he wasn't impressed. Shane Carwin was pretty impressive in beating him, but he didn't look too impressive in that loss to Shane Carwin. But here we go. Um, how do I see this fight going? Mirko's, of course, coming off two wins. I think forgot who the other guy he beat was. He was kind of standing for Ben Rothwell, and he made short work of him in the second round or whatever. I think they stopped that between rounds, and he was looked like he was losing the. He was kind of getting the worst of the striking against H.D. Barry, but he ended up outlasting Pat Barry, who I think broke his arm and broke his foot or whatever, and ended up getting that win by submission with the rear naked choke in the third round. Um, I think those losses, or no, those wins or whatever, you could poke holes in them. Say they may not have been that impressive, considering how he used to be and how dominant he was in the division. But I think those wins do a lot for his confidence, getting a few wins under his belt in the UFC, and I think he himself is kind of a late replacement for Antonio Nogueira. Now, as much as I may not have been looking forward to this card, Mir versus Nogueira again as a main event was just the stupidest thing I could think of. I mean, there's no reason for that, you know? But that's not the fight. Let's talk about Cro Cop, Frank Mir. Now, Frank Mir, I talked about him before. The dude is a very talented guy, he's a very smart guy. However, he's also a very egotistical man. And when he starts having success, when his talent and everything starts running in all cylinders, he allows himself to really lose focus on who he is or something, and just really just forgets how he got to that point. Like I don't want to rehash what I said earlier, but you could tell from like the Brock Lesnar fight, because he submitted Brock Lesnar on the ground, he thought he was a superior grappler, even though he was getting out grappled that whole fight, and Brock just got him in a standing position. But when he loses, it's the flip side. Dude, he gets very critical of himself, gets very in depth into what happened, and just really becomes obsessed with reversing the situation. That's what makes him a good fighter. It's like his losses motivate him to become better. Getting better motivates him to become worse. It's kind of a thing. But right now he's on his upswing. Right now he's coming off that loss to Carwin. He really took a look at himself as a fighter, and I think he's going to be coming into this fight with Mirko very motivated. Now, like I said, Mirko's probably coming in at a probably all-time high confidence as far as being in the UFC. Probably hasn't been this confident since his debut. However, he's taken a huge step up in competition going up against Frank Mir, especially as good as Frank Mir is. No, as good as Frank Mir, as motivated as Frank as he is. See, I'm getting kind of wrapped up right here. But looking at the tools or whatever, I think Mirko's kickboxing skills, with age and plus his constant MMA training, has kind of diluted the danger of his kickboxing. I mean, sure, he's a dangerous guy. You don't want to take a punch from him. He messed up Junior Dos Santos' face really good with the straight lefts. But I just think with the way people fight in the UFC, I think a lot of times when you watch them fight, a lot of people are just very polite and just were willing to stand in front of Mirko a few feet away, right in range of that high kick. I don't see Mir doing that. I see him getting in Krokop's face, maybe taking him down, but definitely getting in close, putting a lot of pressure on him. And Mirko, he's shown like a tendency to really wilt when the pressure's on, and I think Mir's gonna do that, and I think he's gonna come away with like, I don't know, it's Mirko's defense is really good against submissions. I don't see Frank knocking him out, but I think he'll probably dominate the fight for a decision. Probably much like the Alistair Overeem fight, only with less knees to the nuts. Let's talk about we got a light heavyweight bout now. This is a very significant fight because it's against two surging light heavyweights who are on a roll right now. And that's Ryan Darth Bader and Antonio Rogerio Minotauro Nogueira. Not to be confused with Antonio Rodrigo Minotauro Nogueira. But anyway, Antonio, of course, is a light heavyweight standout. It's been really, piped up for many years on the, light heavyweight circuit outside the UFC. Highly respected hands, very good jiu-jitsu. He didn't look too impressive in his second outing against, who was it? Who was that? I had his name right before I started the video, but like I said, he looked very good. It did not look very good. In fact, I thought he lost the fight to Jason Brills. See, why did I forget that? But it was a very close fight. It could have gone either way. It gone his way. But I think he's going up against a very talented prospect, Ryan Bader. Let me see. Ryan just I think he's won every one of his UFC fights with knockout victories over Vinny Magalhães, Keith Jardine. I think he had a decision over Carmelo Moreira. Who was the last person who fought? And Eric Schaefer. He has very heavy hands, very good wrestling. His jiu-jitsu, I think, is improving. I think he almost caught Carmelo Moreira with a pretty sweet armbar, but Carmelo got out of it, ended up going to decision. But that's one thing. He has heavy hands, but he doesn't have the technique of Nogueira. He does have very good wrestling, and I think that may give Nogueira a lot of problems. He may not be there for all the submission attempts that Antonio tries to throw at him. But, it's Antonio's no slouch with the power, too. And I see Ryan maybe just, Ryan's a pretty good gamer. He's a pretty good fighter. Doesn't play it safe like a lot of wrestlers. He really goes out there for the finish, really tries to get at it. That's why I like him so much. But I kind of see him having a little trouble with Antonio's boxing. He may get caught a little bit, and we'll see. But I kind of think I give the edge just because of the experience and technique to Nogueira. Let's see that one. Oh, we also have a rematch of the Ultimate Fighter 4 finale with Matt Serra and Chris Lytle. These are two guys I think when they fought or something, they both went at it, but they both spent like weeks or whatever training together, so they pretty much knew what to expect from each other. How does this go? Chris Lytle has very good boxing. Matt Serra has pretty good boxing himself, not as good as Lytle, but he has I think he may have heavier hands. He's been dropping a lot of his opponents. He's developed into quite the dangerous striker, I think. Maybe not Chuck Liddell-esque, but he's definitely, you don't want to get hit by him. If he hits you, he hurts you. That's what his trainer always says. And Chris Lytle, I think over the last year or so, the dude's dust off his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, has gotten some impressive submissions. But Matt Serra is a highly respected black belt himself. I don't see him going with that. I kind of see Matt Serra probably taking a decision again. There's also some other good fights on here. You got Melvin Gillard versus Jeremy Stevens. That's going to be a very awesome fight right there. I don't see that not being good, but hey, stranger things have happened. I kind of see Melvin getting a duke in that one. I think he's a little more quicker, a little more explosive. Not by much, but I think he's enough to beat Jeremy Stevens. Like I said, it's not the most important thing of all time, but it should be a fun night. I'll be there. Holla at you.